The red plains of Kestrel 9 stretched farther than the eye could see. Dust-colored grass waved under a pale sky, and massive bioengineered cattle moved slowly across the land. Each animal was tagged, monitored, and guided by satellites and machines. Everything here worked with perfect order. Everything except the man who owned it all. Elias Crow stood on the balcony of his estate, hands resting on the cold metal railing. At 46, he was known across 3 systems as a cattle tycoon, a man who turned a wild frontier world into the largest meat supplier in the sector. His ranch fed millions, but Elias felt none of that success. His wife had died 5 years ago during a shuttle accident. Since then, the estate had become quiet. Too quiet. Machines cooked his meals. Drones cleaned the halls. The staff came and went, never staying long. There was no laughter, no warmth, no reason to linger. Efficiency ruled everything, and efficiency was lonely. Each morning, Elias followed the same routine. Wake. Review herd data. Inspect the ranch. Eat alone. Work until night. Sleep. Repeat. The system worked, but something inside him felt hollow. That morning, as sunlight washed over the plains, Elias made a decision he had avoided for years. He opened the Colonial Network terminal and typed a short message. Position open. Ranch cook. Remote frontier location. Simple meals, long hours, temporary position. No personal involvement required. He read it once, then sent it. A cook. That was all he wanted. Someone to prepare real food instead of nutrition packs. Someone who could make the estate feel less like a factory. Nothing more. 2 days later, the applications arrived. Most were exactly what Elias expected. Young drifters looking for fast credits. Off-world chefs who quit after reading the location details. AI-managed service companies offering synthetic staff. He rejected them all. Then he saw one name, Mara Quinn. Her application was short. Too short. Cooking experience. Home meals. Former work. Logistics assistant. Evacuation sector. Current status. Relocated. Additional note. I come with a child. Elias frowned. A child was not efficient. He leaned back in his chair, fingers tapping the desk. The logical choice was to decline. Children required space, safety, time. This was a working ranch, not a family home, and yet, something made him pause. Perhaps it was the honesty of the application, or the lack of desperation, or the fact that she did not beg. Against his better judgment, Elias approved an interview. Mara Quinn stood at the edge of the landing platform when Elias arrived. She wore simple clothes, worn but clean. Her dark hair was tied back, and her posture was straight, as if she refused to shrink under the weight of uncertainty. Beside her stood a boy of about 9 years old. He held a small data tablet tightly, eyes wide as he looked at the massive ranch estate. "This place is huge," the boy whispered. Mara smiled softly. "Remember what I told you, Leo?" Leo nodded. "Don't touch anything without asking." Elias stepped forward. "You're Mara Quinn?" he asked. "Yes, sir," she replied calmly. "And this is my son, Leo." Elias glanced at the child, then back at her. "You applied for a cooking position." "I did. You don't have professional training." "No," she said honestly. "But I can cook real food, and I can follow instructions." "And the child?" Mara met his eyes. "He is quiet, he helps, and he stays out of trouble." Elias said nothing. The wind carried the sound of distant cattle. Machines hummed in the background. "This is a temporary position," Elias finally said. "I don't offer long-term contracts." "I understand," Mara replied. "Temporary is enough." Something about her calm response unsettled him. "Follow me," he said. The estate was large but empty. Wide halls. Clean floors. No personal touches. As they walked, Leo glanced at the walls, filled with data screens. "Are those the cattle?" he asked. "Yes," Elias replied. Leo's eyes lit up. "They move in patterns, like schools of fish." Elias raised an eyebrow. "You understand herd mapping?" Leo shrugged. "A little." The AI could save energy if it adjusted the western routes. Mara cleared her throat. "Leo, sorry, the boy said quickly. Elias said nothing, but he made a mental note. That evening, Mara cooked her first meal. Nothing fancy, just roasted protein cuts, seasoned vegetables, and warm bread made from local grain. Elias sat at the table, expecting efficiency. Instead, he tasted comfort. He ate slowly. The flavors were simple but grounding. Real. This is acceptable, he said. Though his voice lacked conviction, Mara smiled slightly but said nothing. After dinner, Elias noticed something strange. The staff had not rushed away. 2 ranch workers stayed behind, talking quietly. One even laughed. He frowned. Days passed. Mara settled into the routine quickly. She learned the estate systems, planned meals around supply limits, and reduced waste without being asked. She spoke little, but observed everything. Leo spent his time reading, exploring approved areas, and asking questions. Too many questions. Yet, he never caused trouble. One afternoon, Elias noticed Leo sitting near a monitoring station. "What are you doing?" Elias asked. "Listening," Leo replied. "To what?" "The AI," Leo said. "It repeats errors." Elias frowned. "The AI is advanced." "Yes," Leo agreed. "But it doesn't understand tired cattle." Elias stared at the boy. That night, Elias reviewed the data himself. The boy was right. Slow changes began to spread across the ranch. Workers stayed longer. Productivity increased. The cattle were calmer. Equipment failures decreased. Nothing in the system had changed, except the people. Elias found himself eating meals at the table instead of his office. He noticed the sound of footsteps, voices, life, and for the first time in years, the estate did not feel empty. Still, he reminded himself, this is temporary. One evening, Elias stood on the balcony again. The red plains glowed under the setting sun. Mara joined him, keeping a respectful distance. "The food shipments arrive tomorrow," she said. I adjusted the orders. Less synthetic filler. More fresh supply. "That will increase costs," Elias replied. "Yes," she said. "But it will reduce long-term waste." Elias nodded slowly. "You don't behave like a cook," he said. Mara looked at him. "I adapt." Silence fell between them. Below, Leo laughed softly as he chased a service drone, careful not to touch it. Elias felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest, a thought he had not allowed himself in years. Maybe efficiency isn't everything, but beyond the plains, unseen eyes were watching the ranch's rising numbers, and they were beginning to ask questions. The next morning on Kestrel 9, the sun rose with a soft orange glow over the red plains. The wind carried the smell of dry earth and grass. At first light, the ranch came alive not with machines, but with the quiet rhythm of human activity. Elias walked through the main hall, a steaming cup of brewed coffee in hand. He expected the hum of machinery, but he noticed the difference immediately. Workers were moving with purpose, talking to one another, helping each other without being told. They laughed quietly as they worked. The ranch felt alive. He frowned, annoyed with himself for noticing it, and for feeling something he had not felt in years. Mara appeared at the kitchen doorway, wiping her hands on a towel. She glanced at Elias and nodded, as if acknowledging that he was noticing the change. "Breakfast is ready," she said simply. "I made eggs with fresh vegetables. No synthetic supplements today." Elias raised an eyebrow. "You know what you're doing is against standard efficiency guidelines." Mara smiled faintly. "I follow another rule. The workers and the cattle perform better when they are fed properly. Real food, real energy." He frowned again but did not argue. Instead, he followed her into the dining hall. The staff gathered slowly. They had been cautious in the first days, unsure of Mara's authority. But something about her presence made them relax. She spoke with quiet confidence, giving instructions without commanding, correcting mistakes without anger. Her calm made them trust her. Elias watched as the workers ate, noticed their laughter, the ease with which they communicated. And then he realized something remarkable. Their productivity had already increased. Machines alone could not create this kind of coordination. Something human was happening. It was strange, uncomfortable, fascinating. By mid-morning, Mara was already moving among the livestock. Elias followed at a distance, curious and slightly skeptical. Mara knelt beside a cluster of young calves. She whispered to them softly, her voice low and gentle. The calves responded, moving closer to her, calm and curious. Elias frowned. Machines could monitor health, adjust feed, track movements, and even calm animals through programmed sounds. But Mara was doing it with words, touch, and patience. She turned to him without raising her voice. They respond better when they are treated like living creatures, not data points. Elias stared at her. Treating them like creatures? That sounds illogical. But then the calves nuzzled her hand, relaxed, and returned to their pens with less stress than usual. He had to admit, grudgingly, that it worked. Meanwhile, Leo wandered near the central AI hub. His small fingers tapped on the control tablet, eyes shining with curiosity. Elias noticed but did not stop him. He had long since given up trying to control every aspect of the ranch. "Leo," Elias called, "be careful. Those systems are complex." Leo looked up, grin spreading across his face. "I know, Mr. Crow. I'm just helping." "Helping?" Elias asked. "Yes. I noticed the AI is repeating some errors. If we adjust the schedules, we can save energy and reduce stress on the herd." Elias frowned. A 9-year-old boy correcting the AI on a ranch worth billions? It was impossible. And yet, when he checked the logs, Leo was right. The AI had been making subtle mistakes that no adult worker had noticed. He swallowed a surprise he did not want to admit. Days turned into weeks. Mara and Leo became a quiet presence that changed the rhythm of the ranch. Elias, who had once believed humans were replaceable by machines, began to see their true value. Workers no longer left early. The meals Mara prepared nourished not only the body but the spirit. Even the semi-sentient AI, designed to manage everything, seemed to respond better when it had human guidance. One afternoon, Elias walked into the kitchen while Mara was preparing lunch. "You don't take breaks?" he asked, watching her stir vegetables in a steaming pot. "I do," she said. "But the schedule must fit the herd, the staff, and the shipments. I take short breaks when I can." Elias frowned. "This is more than cooking. You're managing the ranch." She smiled faintly. "I am managing what I see. Humans, animals, food. They all depend on each other. Machines can't feel responsibility. I can." Elias did not reply. Instead, he leaned against the wall, realizing something unsettling. She was right. All his technology, his money, his planning, none of it worked without human care. Later that evening, the wind howled outside. Red dust swept across the plains. Elias stood on the balcony, watching the horizon, thinking about the changes Mara had brought. Mara joined him, holding a tray of tea. "It is good to drink warm tea after a long day," she said. Elias took a cup and sipped silently. He did not know what to say. She glanced at him. "You've noticed the change," she said softly. He nodded. "Yes, but I do not understand why. Machines should do all this work. They are perfect, efficient, reliable." Mara smiled faintly. "Machines can do many things, but they cannot care. They cannot notice what humans need. You may have everything, Mr. Crow, but you were missing people." Her words struck him like a cold wind. Meanwhile, Leo was exploring the outer pens. He noticed a calf limping slightly. Most ranch AI would mark it and schedule it for delayed care. Leo did something different. He picked up the small animal, examined it carefully, and called Mara. She arrived immediately. Together, they treated the calf. The animal did not panic. It leaned into their touch. Elias watched from a distance. He could not stop the thought forming in his mind. Humans had intuition. Machines had rules. And in the wild, unpredictable frontier of Kestrel 9, intuition mattered more than rules. He swallowed hard. A feeling he had not expected rose in his chest: pride, hope, and something warmer: gratitude. The days continued. Mara's routines became part of the ranch. She taught workers to observe, to anticipate, to adapt. Elias found himself talking to her more, asking questions not about efficiency, but about life, about the herd, about how people could make things work better than machines alone. The frontier, harsh and relentless, tested both humans and technology. But the human heart, the human mind, showed strength machines could never match. One morning, a message arrived from the colony network. Corporate eyes had noticed the ranch's sudden rise in productivity. The numbers were impressive: productivity up, waste down, worker efficiency up. Elias read the message and frowned. He had not sought attention. He had only wanted a cook. Mara noticed his expression. "What is it?" she asked. "People are asking questions," he replied. "They want to know why our ranch is performing so well." She tilted her head. And they might interfere," he admitted, his voice low. "I did not want complications." Mara nodded. "Complications happen when people care." "That is your choice, Mr. Crow. You can keep things efficient, or you can protect what matters." Her words were simple, yet powerful. Elias realized that efficiency was not the same as success, and the things that truly mattered could not be measured in numbers. As the sun set that evening, Elias walked through the red plains, watching Mara and Leo work with the herd. He saw laughter, care, guidance, and patience. The machines hummed quietly, but it was the humans who brought life. For the first time in years, Elias allowed himself to imagine something more than profit, something more than numbers, something like a home. And though he would not admit it aloud, he realized Mara and Leo were becoming a part of that vision. The frontier was harsh. The galaxy was indifferent. But here, on Kestrel 9, humans were making the impossible work. And for Elias, that was a comfort no machine could ever give. The red plains of Kestrel 9 stretched endlessly under the rising sun. The wind carried the scent of dry soil and tall, rust-colored grass. For Elias Crow, the ranch had never seemed more alive. The cattle moved calmly, the workers laughed quietly, and the air felt warmer somehow. But the calm was about to be tested. Elias was in his office, reviewing the herd's growth reports, when a notification blinked on the network terminal. A corporate representative from NovaCorp, one of the largest interstellar meat suppliers, had sent a message. "We have noticed your rising productivity and efficiency. NovaCorp is interested in purchasing your ranch. Terms favorable. Please respond promptly." Elias stared at the screen. He did not respond. He had not sought attention. He had not wanted interference. The ranch had been his quiet domain, a place of work, but also of solitude. "Someone wants to buy us," he muttered aloud. Mara, standing nearby with a basket of fresh vegetables, looked over. "And you want to sell?" "No," Elias said firmly. "This ranch is mine. I built it. My family used to belong here. And now, I want it to stay alive, my way." Mara nodded, her expression calm. "Then we must prepare. If they want the ranch, they may try to pressure you." 2 days later, representatives from NovaCorp arrived in sleek ships that shone like mirrors under the harsh sun. They were dressed in crisp uniforms, faces polite but calculating. Elias met them at the landing pad. "I told you. The ranch is not for sale," he said. The lead representative smiled. "Mr. Crow, we only wish to offer a fair price. The numbers are strong. You are performing better than any ranch under NovaCorp's supervision." "Yes," Elias said. "Because humans are running it, not machines alone." The representatives exchanged looks, clearly not expecting that answer. "Humans can make mistakes," the lead said cautiously. "Machines are efficient, precise, reliable. You may think this is better, but it is temporary. Eventually, Efficiency will prevail. Elias's jaw tightened. I will not allow anyone to replace humans with machines here. After the meeting, Elias walked back to the house, deep in thought. Mara was outside, tending to a small garden. Leo played nearby, chasing a drone that hummed softly as it hovered over the crops. They underestimate us, Elias said. They think humans are weak. Machines are better. Mara looked at him. Machines follow rules. Humans create solutions. You've seen it here. You know it works. Elias nodded slowly. Yes, but they won't stop. They may try to pressure us financially, or even sabotage shipments. We need a plan. Mara's eyes sparkled with quiet determination. Then we adapt. That is what humans do best. Over the next week, subtle changes began. NovaCorp began delaying shipments of supplies. Some equipment parts arrived late. Even the automated feeders for the cattle were slightly off schedule. Elias noticed immediately. But Mara and Leo were ready. Mara organized a new routine for the kitchen, adjusting meal plans with what was available. She trained workers to monitor and repair basic equipment themselves. Leo studied the AI closely and wrote simple routines to correct errors without waiting for maintenance. Elias watched, amazed. In less than a week, the ranch ran smoother than ever. The humans had adapted. The machines followed the adjustments. Productivity was unaffected. The NovaCorp representatives returned, their smiles less confident. We noticed some unusual improvements, the lead said. How do you maintain such high output under these conditions? Elias met his gaze steadily. Because humans care, machines do what they are told. Humans see what is needed. That evening, Mara and Elias sat on the balcony, watching the sun sink below the red horizon. The plains glowed in shades of orange and red. They won't give up, Elias said quietly. They think they can outmaneuver us, outgrow us, outlast us. Mara sipped her tea. Let them try. Humans find solutions when forced to. The frontier teaches that. We survive because we can think, adapt, and care. Machines cannot. Elias looked at her. Her calm confidence reminded him why he had allowed them into his life. She had brought more than meals. She had brought strength, intelligence, and resilience. For the first time in years, he felt hope. The next challenge came unexpectedly. A herd on the northern plains was acting strangely. Automated sensors reported nothing abnormal. The AI had no explanation. Elias rode out with Mara and Leo. They approached the herd, and Mara knelt to observe. The ground is uneven here, she said. Some of the younger cattle are stumbling because the sensors didn't detect the erosion. The AI doesn't understand terrain, only data. Humans do. Elias helped her mark safe paths for the herd. Leo suggested minor adjustments in feeding schedules to reduce strain. Together, they prevented injury and calmed the animals. When they returned, the workers looked at them with awe. How did you know? One asked. Mara smiled. We watch. We learn. We care. Elias realized that care, not orders, not money, not machines, was the key. Humans were stronger when they worked together and paid attention to what mattered. Days later, another message arrived from NovaCorp. This time, it was sharper. Your operations are extraordinary. We insist on partnership or buyout. Resistance is costly. Consider carefully. Elias scowled. He considered ignoring the message, but Mara advised caution. They will try to create fear, she said. We must remain steady, protect the ranch and the people who depend on it, adapt. And so they did. Mara reorganized supply chains using local resources. Leo improved AI routines to anticipate equipment failure. Elias focused on leadership, speaking with workers, learning what they needed, and protecting the ranch from outside pressure. The humans were more capable than the conglomerate expected. Their ingenuity turned the ranch into a model of efficiency and care. One evening, as dust storms blew across the plains, Elias stood in the yard, watching the workers and Mara coordinate feeding schedules. Leo was running with a calf that had been injured weeks ago, now fully recovered. The herd was calm, the machinery was running smoothly, and the ranch thrived. Novacorp's representatives would visit again soon. But Elias realized something important. The ranch could not be bought, threatened, or replaced. Not because of machines, not because of money, because of humans. And he understood another truth. Mara and Leo were not just temporary helpers. They had become essential. They had brought something the frontier needed most: human resilience, creativity, and care. That night, as he stood on the balcony, Elias felt a quiet sense of pride. The frontier was harsh, unforgiving, and indifferent. But humans watchful, compassionate, adaptable could thrive anywhere. He had always thought he ruled the Red Plains alone. Now, he understood the truth. He did not rule the plains. Humans did. And he was part of that strength. The Red Plains of Kestrel 9 stretched endlessly under the late morning sun. The ranch hummed with activity. Yet Elias Crow felt a tension he had not felt before. Novacorp had sent another message, this time more threatening than the last. Your resistance is noted. Consider carefully. Delays, disruptions, and loss of supply will follow if you do not comply. Cooperation is advised. Elias read the words and clenched his fists. He had anticipated challenges, but the conglomerate's tactics were becoming sharper, more personal. This was no longer just business. They wanted to break him, to prove humans were replaceable. He poured himself a cup of tea and stepped onto the balcony. Below, Mara organized workers, moving calmly among the herd. Leo ran past, chasing a calf that had broken free from its pen. The ranch was alive, vibrant, and defiant. Elias realized what he had to do. Mara joined him on the balcony. They will try to scare you, she said softly, watching the horizon. Dust clouds rolled across the plains like silent waves. Elias shook his head. I cannot allow them to take this ranch. Not for money, not for control. Mara smiled faintly. Then you must be ready to adapt. Humans survive by thinking, caring, and working together. Machines and corporations underestimate that. Elias nodded. Yes. But it will not be easy. That afternoon, Novacorp made its first move. Delivery drones carrying essential supplies were delayed. Some shipments never arrived. Minor equipment failures occurred across the ranch. It was subtle sabotage, designed to appear as coincidence. Elias did not panic. Mara and Leo were already working to adjust. Mara reorganized kitchen operations, substituting missing ingredients with local crops and meats. She trained workers to manage the feeds manually when automated systems faltered. Leo wrote small programs to repair the AI routines temporarily. Within hours, the ranch was back on schedule. The cattle were calm, the workers productive, and the machines functional. Elias watched in quiet amazement. Humans, not technology, had saved the day. The following week, Novacorp escalated. They blocked supply lines from nearby colonies and threatened the workers with fines and contract cancellations. Elias realized that direct confrontation would be costly. He called a meeting with Mara and the senior ranch staff. We have two choices, he said. We can comply with Novacorp, sell the ranch, and lose control. Or we can adapt and survive on our own. Mara looked around at the gathered team. We have the skills. We have the land. We have each other. Humans thrive in challenges like this. We can do it. One worker, a young man named Rylan, spoke up. But we need extra hands. How will we manage supply shortages? Mara smiled. We will teach. We will rotate responsibilities. We will use what we have wisely. Humans can adapt faster than machines. Faster than corporations. Faster than fear. Elias felt a surge of respect. Not just for Mara, but for the people who were willing to stand together. Over the next few days, the ranch became a hive of human ingenuity. Mara organized food production, rotating crops, and rationing supplies carefully. Leo improved AI monitoring routines, predicting equipment failures and livestock behavior with precision. Workers learned new roles, filling gaps created by missing supplies. Elias moved among them, giving orders when needed, but also listening. For the first time in years, he felt like part of a community. He realized leadership was not about ownership, it was about responsibility. The ranch thrived despite the corporation's attempts to disrupt it. The humans had turned adversity into strength. One morning, an unexpected dust storm rolled across the plains. It was stronger than usual, threatening the cattle and equipment. Automated systems would have shut down, leaving the herd exposed. Elias, Mara, and the team sprang into action. Workers covered sensitive machinery. Mara guided the cattle into safe pens. Leo moved quickly, monitoring AI systems and making adjustments on the fly. Hours later, when the storm passed, the ranch was intact. Not a single animal was lost. Machines had helped, but it was human planning, care, and attention that had saved everything. Elias felt a swell of pride. Humans were stronger than any corporation could measure. Stronger than any machine. That evening, as the sun dipped below the red horizon, Elias walked with Mara across the plains. "They will not stop," he said quietly. "They will try again, and they will come stronger next time." Mara glanced at him. "Let them come. Humans adapt. We have already proven that." Elias nodded slowly. "Yes, but it is more than that. This ranch, the herd, the workers, even Leo, they mean more than efficiency or profit. They are worth fighting for." Mara reached out, placing a hand on his arm. "And we will fight. Together." For the first time, Elias allowed himself to feel hope, not just for survival, but for life itself. The next morning, NovaCorp sent a representative in person. He arrived in a sleek ship, exuding confidence and authority. "Mr. Crow," the man said, smiling politely, "we appreciate your resistance. But this is not sustainable. We can offer a partnership, or we can impose stricter measures." Elias did not flinch. "The ranch is not for sale. Partnership that threatens my workers and my herd is not an option." The representative frowned. "You are taking a risk. You cannot withstand the losses indefinitely. Eventually, humans cannot compete with efficiency." Elias looked at him steadily. "Humans do not just compete. Humans survive. Humans adapt. And humans care. You cannot measure that in credits or systems. It cannot be bought, and it cannot be replaced." The representative left without another word. Elias watched the ship lift off, a sense of quiet satisfaction settling over him. Later that evening, Mara cooked a simple meal of roasted vegetables and fresh protein. Elias sat at the table, watching the interplay of humans around him. The workers, Mara, Leo, all contributing to something greater than themselves. "You have changed this place," Elias said quietly. Mara smiled. "We all have. Humans working together can do what machines cannot. Even corporations forget that." Elias took a deep breath, feeling a rare warmth. "I wanted a cook. I found a family instead." Mara's smile widened. "Then you understand. Humans are stronger when they care for each other. That is the frontier's true strength." Over the next weeks, NovaCorp continued to test the ranch. Minor disruptions, supply issues, and small sabotage attempts came and went. Each time, the ranch adapted. Mara's planning, Leo's innovation, and the workers' resilience turned adversity into strength. Elias learned that leadership was not about command, it was about trust, care, and the willingness to act when others could not. The humans were unbreakable. And as the sun set over the endless red plains, Elias realized something extraordinary. The ranch was no longer just a business. It was a home, a community, and a symbol of human perseverance. NovaCorp might have technology. NovaCorp might have money. But the ranch had something more powerful. Humans who cared, adapted, and thrived together. Elias looked at Mara and Leo, feeling an emotion he had buried for years. Gratitude, respect, hope, and something else, a quiet, growing love. The frontier had pushed back. It had tested them, threatened them, and tried to break them. But humans had risen above the challenge, and in that moment, Elias knew they would survive anything. The red plains of Kestrel 9 stretched farther than the eye could see, bathed in the warm orange glow of sunrise. The ranch hummed with life workers moving in rhythm, cattle grazing calmly, and machines quietly assisting in the background. But it was the humans who made the ranch thrive. Elias Crow stood on the balcony, watching the scene. For the first time in years, he felt calm. The trials of the past months had tested him. The ranch, and everyone who called it home. But they had survived. And they had grown stronger because of it. He turned as Mara approached, holding a basket of fresh vegetables. Leo ran past, laughing as he chased a calf that had strayed too far. The sight warmed Elias more than any sunrise could. "They are thriving," he said softly. Mara smiled. "Yes. Because humans work together. Machines can assist, but humans make it happen. You've seen it." "Yes," Elias admitted. "And I've learned it. I thought I wanted to cook, but I found something far greater." Mara glanced at him, reading his meaning. "A family," she said gently. Elias nodded. "Yes. And a home." The previous weeks had tested the ranch in ways Elias had never imagined. Novacorp's subtle sabotage, delayed supplies, and threats had forced them to rely on human ingenuity. Mara had reorganized food production, trained workers to take on multiple roles, and managed the herd with a combination of care and intelligence. Leo had monitored AI systems, predicted potential failures, and even improved herd management routines. Together, they had turned every challenge into an opportunity. Productivity had risen, but more importantly, the ranch had become a model of human resilience and teamwork. Elias realized something profound. The strength of humans was not in their technology or money, it was in their hearts, minds, and willingness to care for each other. One afternoon, Novacorp sent their representatives again. This time, they came with polite words and glossy promises of partnership. "Mr. Crow," the lead representative said smoothly, "we appreciate your resistance. We admire your operations, but surely you can see the advantages of joining Novacorp. We can provide resources, security, and expansion opportunities." Elias shook his head firmly. "No. I do not need your resources. The ranch is ours. The workers are ours. The herd is ours. And we will continue on our own terms." The representative's smile faltered. "You are taking a risk." Elias's gaze hardened. "Perhaps. But humans survive risks when we adapt. Humans thrive when we care. And humans cannot be replaced." The representatives left silently, their confidence shaken. Elias knew the corporation had underestimated the frontier and the humans who lived and worked there. That evening, Mara prepared a simple meal. Elias sat at the table with her and Leo, enjoying the warmth of shared food. The workers joined them gradually, bringing stories of the day, laughter, and conversation. The dining hall, once silent and lifeless, was now filled with life. "You've changed this place," Elias said quietly, watching Mara move among the workers, offering guidance and encouragement. "We've all changed it," Mara replied. "Humans working together can achieve what machines cannot. Even corporations forget that sometimes." Leo leaned over, grinning. "We fixed the AI mistakes today. The northern herd was calmer than ever." "Tropped?" Elias smiled, a rare, genuine smile that reached his eyes. "I see. Humans, especially the right humans, can do anything." Weeks passed, and life at the ranch settled into a steady rhythm. The frontier still tested them with dust storms, unpredictable terrain, and supply challenges. But the ranch thrived. Novacorp had ceased their direct interference, Realizing that human determination could not be easily broken, Elias observed the workers, the cattle, Mara, and Leo. He understood now that leadership was not about command. It was about fostering care, trust, and responsibility. The ranch had become a symbol not of wealth, but of human ingenuity and resilience. He walked across the plains one evening, Mara by his side. Leo ran ahead, chasing the last rays of sunlight. The wind carried the scent of grass and earth, and the world felt alive. "Do you remember when you first arrived?" Elias asked Mara quietly. Mara smiled. "Yes. You thought I was just a cook. And now?" Elias asked. "Now," she said, looking at him, "you see that humans are stronger together. We care. We adapt. We survive. And sometimes, we create more than we ever imagined." Elias nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest he hadn't felt in years. "Yes, I understand now. I have more than a ranch. I have a home, a family, a future." One morning, Leo found a calf struggling near a steep slope. Automated sensors would have warned of danger too late. But Leo, observing the terrain and the animal's behavior, guided it to safety. Mara and the workers joined him, supporting his efforts. Elias watched from a distance, proud and amazed. Humans had saved the herd again, not machines, not money, but care, observation, and quick thinking. It was the same lesson he had learned over months. Human ingenuity and compassion could overcome even the harshest challenges. As the sun set, Elias called a meeting with the ranch staff. "We have faced challenges," he began, "and we have survived. But we did more than survive. We thrived because of humans, not machines. You have proven that care, intelligence, and cooperation matter more than technology or money. You have made this ranch more than a business. You have made it a home." The workers nodded, some smiling, some quietly proud. Mara stood beside him, a silent pillar of support. Leo looked up at his father figure, proud to have helped in small but meaningful ways. "And that," Elias continued, "is more valuable than anything NovaCorp could offer. We will continue on our terms. We will thrive, and we will do it together." That night, Elias sat on the balcony with Mara, the stars bright and clear in the sky. The plains below were quiet, save for the gentle movement of the herd. "You've changed my life," Elias said softly. Mara smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "And you've shown me that humans can create strength anywhere, even in harsh places. We just need care, courage, and trust." Elias reached for her hand. "I thought I only needed a cook. I found something greater. I found a partner, a family, and I found hope." Mara squeezed his hand gently. "The frontier teaches us many things. Most important, humans are unstoppable when we work together." Over the following months, the ranch flourished. Productivity continued to rise. The herd remained healthy. Workers were happy, motivated, and proud. NovaCorp had stopped trying to intervene, realizing that their technological and financial power could not overcome human resilience. Elias walked through the ranch one morning, watching Leo teach a young worker how to manage the herd without relying on AI alone. Mara guided the kitchen staff in preparing a feast for everyone. The workers laughed, talked, and shared stories. Elias felt a sense of completion he had never known. He had begun the journey seeking something small, a cook. He had gained something immense, a home, a family, and a community built on human strength and care. As the sun rose over the red plains, Elias stood on the balcony, watching life move below him. The ranch was alive not because of machines, technology, or wealth, but because of humans. Humans who cared, adapted, and thrived. Humans who refused to be replaced. And humans who had turned his lonely, empty estate into a place of warmth, laughter, and life. Elias smiled, quietly, to himself. The frontier had tested them. It had pushed them to their limits. And together, they had risen. In the galaxy, many believed that machines, money, and power ruled. But Elias knew the truth. It was humans ordinary, caring, adaptable humans who truly made the impossible possible. And for the first time in years, Elias allowed himself to hope freely. The ranch, the herd, Mara, and Leo were more than what he had sought. They were everything, and he would protect them, nurture them, and cherish them forever.